sometimes, particularly those of us who are more comfortably off, who are better off wherever we live, we can be afraid that because the problem of poverty is so enormous that we can't even begin to make a difference to it. So we hide away and we stay in our church buildings and we do our thing, our worship and everything, which is fine. That's all good, that's not bad. But what's bad is our fear of going out and setting out and actually meeting ordinary local people who probably live next door to us or not far away, maybe a couple of miles away, who are really destitute sometimes. And I think until we actually go and put ourselves in that place and listen to people, I don't know if we are following the example of Jesus, because I see him doing that all the time.
Get out of your church and listen to people that are walking past, and then you will understand that if you're to serve them from the point of view of the gospel, then you need to see the reality of their story.
I think some of the things that touched us most were the stories where, you know, you had young mums coming in feeling ashamed and that they'd failed their babies, because these were still babies we're talking about, by having to come to a food bank and rely on a food bank for food that they couldn't actually provide for their newborn children. And the sadness that comes with that sense of shame that they had to come here, but also the release that they got by at least sharing that and saying that. That I think that showed also the power of being listened to and understood and being given a value rather than just being a recipient of charity. But we also, importantly, try to utilise people's skills, people's passions, people's gifts. So we use that as well to spur us on into what we're doing next. So we meet people who want to do some gardening and we set up a community garden so that they can garden in it. We meet people who want to do decorating and we look at the Good Neighbours scheme and how we might use those kind of skills. We look at people who enjoy cooking, and so we do a community meal where people eat and cook together. So all the time we're using the strengths of people rather than concentrate on what it is that makes life difficult here. Well, it's almost really about collecting a local gospel, really, and forming that in that theological context as well for us, about seeing God in people's lives. Doing it and listening to those stories and valuing those stories and then using the skills that you've uncovered to actually help in your local community is a massively valuable thing to do.
I've always respected and valued the work of Church Action and think that for the size of the organisation, what it is able to achieve and the voice that it has and the voice that it gives to people is so valuable. One of the things that Church Action is great at is actually encountering people who are in poverty. I think a lot of churches that are more wealthy perhaps never hear directly the voice of people who are experiencing lived experiences of poverty, and so finding ways to encounter people directly and just talk to each other, that's really important.
The stuff that Church Action on Poverty does locally and nationally is really, really important, and I don't see that much coming out of the churches, which is so obviously doing, gospel kingdom stuff.